Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Stevens. If you're a senior and looking to stay active, healthy, and full of energy, you're in the right place. Please make sure to subscribe and like the video. It is very important for me. Now, let's talk about your health. There's a silent timer inside many of us, and for too many people, it stops unexpectedly. It sounds incredibly dramatic, but the harsh reality is that people who ignore the hidden changes in their bodies simply do not live as long as they could. We are used to thinking that if something is wrong, we will feel pain, a sharp sting, or an ache that warns us to go to the doctor. But the most dangerous threats to our lives, specifically the ones that stop our hearts or block our brains, do not cause pain until the very last second, when it is often too late. They work in silence, year after year, slowly turning the life-giving river inside your veins into a sluggish, dangerous swamp. If you want to be around to see the next decade, you cannot afford to turn a blind eye to this. Today, we are going to talk about blood clots, thrombosis, and the specific, surprising foods that make your blood thick and sticky. This isn't about obviously unhealthy things like smoking or drinking poison. We are going to discuss foods that you probably have in your kitchen right now, foods that you might even think are healthy, but which, after the age of 60, begin to alter the chemical composition of your blood in dangerous ways. We will explain exactly why your body reacts differently now compared to when you were 30 and how you can fix it. Please make sure you stay with me until the very end of this lecture. I have a specific analogy about a garden system that will completely change how you visualize your health, and a fascinating fact about your body that is going to blow your mind. Let's start with the hard truth about aging that nobody likes to admit. As we cross the threshold of 60, our internal machinery doesn't just get older, it changes its operating system. Your kidneys, which are the body's filtration plant, start working a bit slower. Your blood vessels, which used to be flexible rubber hoses, start becoming stiff pipes. This creates a perfect storm where certain compounds can accumulate. The first culprit is shocking because it is the poster child for healthy eating. I am talking about raw spinach smoothies. You might be thinking, wait, vegetables are good for me. Usually you are right. But here's the catch. Spinach is loaded with oxalates. When you were young, your kidneys flush these out easily. But now, with slower filtration, these oxalates meet calcium in your blood and bind together. Imagine tiny microscopic sand crystals forming in your bloodstream. These crystals do not just disappear, they make the blood heavy and harder to pump, increasing the risk of accumulation. You don't have to banish spinach forever, but stop drinking it raw every day. Steam it. Cooking breaks down those oxalates and makes it safe again. It's a small tweak, but it saves your kidneys a massive amount of stress. Moving on to breakfast, we have another imposter, granola. We see the commercials with active people climbing mountains, eating crunchy oats, and we think it is the fuel of youth. The reality is darker. Most store-bought granola is just cookies crumbled into a bowl. It is full of sugar and processed oils. When you eat this, you aren't just getting energy, you are causing a massive spike in blood sugar. Think of your blood like syrup. When you pour sugar into it, it gets sticky. This stickiness damages the lining of your blood vessels, causing inflammation. Your body tries to fix this inflammation by sending platelets to the rescue, but because the blood is sticky, these platelets clump together. That is the birth of a clot. Instead of that sugary crunch, try steel-cut oats with cinnamon. It tastes like comfort, but it acts like medicine. Speaking of medicine, the best medicine is often just knowledge. And since we are about 35% of the way through this important conversation, I want to ask you a small favor. If you are finding this information useful, and if you want to protect your health and the health of your loved ones, please take a second to hit the subscribe button and like this video. It helps this information reach more people who might be unknowingly putting themselves at risk. Thank you for that. It really does make a difference. Now, let's talk about the weekend favorite that might be hurting you: processed meats. Sausages, hot dogs, deli slices. We love them because they are easy and tasty. But chemically, they are a disaster for older arteries. These meats are preserved with nitrates and excessive sodium. Imagine your arteries are smooth tunnels. When you eat these processed meats, the chemicals cause what we call microinflammation. It turns those smooth walls into something resembling Velcro, rough and sticky. Now imagine a blood cell floating by. On a smooth wall, it slides past. On a Velcro wall, it gets caught. Then another gets caught, and another. Suddenly, you have a blockage. It isn't just about cholesterol, it is about the texture of your vessel walls. Swapping that salami for a piece of baked chicken or fish removes that inflammatory fire from your system. Then there's the trap of the light breakfast, sugary cereal. Even the ones that claim to be whole grain can be hiding 5 teaspoons of sugar per bowl. After 60, our insulin sensitivity drops. We cannot handle sugar rushes like we used to. Every time you spike your insulin with these cereals, you're essentially thickening your blood for a few hours. If you do this every morning, your blood is in a constant state of thickened stress. It's like trying to run an engine on bad oil. Eventually, the pistons are going to seize up. You need fiber. Fiber is the sponge that soaks up the sugar and slows down the absorption. If your cereal doesn't have fiber, it's just dessert masquerading as breakfast. Finally, we have to discuss cheese. I know. We all love cheese. It makes everything taste better. But cheese is a double-edged sword, saturated fat and sodium. As we age, our ability to break down saturated fats diminishes. These fats linger in the bloodstream longer than they used to, adding to the viscosity or thickness of the blood. Combined with salt, which retains water and raises blood pressure, you're creating a high-pressure, thick fluid system. It puts immense strain on the vessel walls. You don't have to live a miserable life without cheese, but treat it like a garnish, not a main course. Switch to ricotta or fresh mozzarella, which are lighter and have less salt. Now, I promised you an analogy to make all of this stick in your mind, and I want you to close your eyes for a second and picture a garden. Your circulatory system is like a vast network of irrigation channels designed to water a beautiful garden. When the water is clear and flows freely, it reaches every single flower, even the ones in the farthest corners, and the garden blooms. This is your body when your blood is healthy. But what happens if you start dumping mud, grease, and sand into that water? The water turns into sludge. It moves slowly. It creates piles of silt in the corners. The water can no longer reach the flowers at the end of the garden. Those flowers begin to wither and die.
In your body, those distant flowers are your cold feet, your fingers, your brain cells, and your heart muscle. By changing these 5 foods, you are not dieting, you are simply cleaning the mud out of your irrigation channels. You are ensuring the water runs clear so that every part of you stays alive and vibrant. And before we part ways, here is that interesting fact I promised. We often talk about blood vessels as if they are just a few tubes in the chest. But if you were to take all the blood vessels out of an average adult, arteries, veins, and capillaries, and lay them out in a single line, they would stretch for nearly 100,000 kilometers. That is enough to wrap around the Earth 2.5 times. That is the massive, intricate system you are protecting simply by choosing oatmeal over granola or fish over sausage. It is a miracle of engineering, and it deserves your care. Take care of your vessels, and they will carry you through a long, healthy life.